Laser optoelectronic oscillators. Back to the history. PhD in Lineary talks about history of creation. Laser optoelectronic oscillators. I believe that we were the first pay. We will consider the first Gregorians deal from Fire, Institute Radiotechnics and Electronics, Freseno, of the USSR Academy of Sciences. And me from Moscow Power Engineering Institute, Technical University. Vil Gregorians suggested me to compose the optoelectronic oscillator. Around the end of the 70s, 1979 to 1982, Gregorians returned from a scientific conference that was held in Hawaii. Our scientific group, after joining them pay at the RPD in 1964, a young and energetic BB, who had already defended the dissertation of PhD, he managed to use it to master the topic of quantum frequency standards, fiber optic communication lines, and lasers. During this period of time in the educational process and in the research institute, Gregorians told me that our department is known in Russia and abroad. Developments in the field of low-noise precision sources of oscillations in microwave and radio frequency range, bipolar transistors with an ACE based on a reference quartz oscillators, the master oscillators. This meeting took place at the old apartment of the Vil on Molchanovka Street, which was then parallel to the new Arbat corner house. He offered to come up with oscillator, how to do this. At a stable frequency of radio frequency and microwave oscillator, you can use optical fiber. If we take into account such a unique property of modern optical systems as super small optical linear losses of optical power, super large information bandwidth, and low temperature coefficient of linear expansion of the optical systems. Well, I began to think. I remembered that I knew and understood well oscillators on the reflective klystron, a traveling wave tube and a magnetron. Everywhere in these oscillators there is a delay, generation zones, high frequency generation in the zones. But there is no frequency stability, large phase noise and amplitude noise. But there is a three-dimensional microwave resonator with a high quality factor in the klystron. My brother Oleg Kyolnkov worked in the Cosmic State Research Institute NIRI. He told me a lot about transistor microwave oscillators. At that time, in the 70s 80s, this was a new scientific phenomenon. I knew and understood the first Soviet microwave transistors and oscillators on such transistors. Besides, I studied at the Moscow State University for a degree in probability theory and statistics. I listened to mathematicians and physicists of the high world level Vladimir Arnold, Virginsky, Stratinovich and other great Russian scientists. I studied theories on random processes and noise and time-delayed systems. To us at Moscow State University would drop people like Tikhonov. I was sitting in the mechanics and mathematics, then one student from the Vahan Shageldian. I was in contact with Shtaikov, a leading radiophysicist in Russia, a trainee in England, Lobov, and Zyadishev, one of the world's pioneers of electrodynamics of optical waveguides. I started reading scientific literature and articles. So from all this mixture of knowledge and recognition, my experience, the advice of all these super smart people, I began to form an laser optoelectronic oscillator. Later, I came across an old American patent of 1956 year. And Japanese articles Mitsuma Nakazawa, published in 1981. Laser diodes. Semiconducted laser diodes appeared in our country and in the world in 60s years. Laser diodes are working not only in pulsed mode, but also in continuous laser radiation mode. After the inventions of Alfarov, Nobel Prize 2000, and others. My school very close friend, a friend of Lev Dolginov, he later became a professor, doctor of science, chemist, technologist with a world-famous name, was a graduate student at Alfarov and developed a dissertation on heterostructural laser diodes with quarter stoichiometry. The first model laser optoelectronic oscillator, LOEO. There was a layout with internal or direct modulation on the laser diodes made by Vitor Konstantinov and his discrete plus Vladimir Prokofiev helped with. Electronic amplifier. Alexei Dvornikov developed the basics of a theoretical model based on the shortened Iftianov equations. He used the same analysis method as for surface wave oscillators. Our first paper in 1983 in Scientific Works of Moscow Power Engineering Institute. From 1983 to 1992, we published significant articles in international scientific journals. Viktor Konstantinov successfully defended his PhD thesis in 1985. In 1988 to 1989, the results of the research of Alexander Bortsov, a postgraduate student, were published. Alexander Bortsova considered a new type of optoelectronic generator with a differential delay line. Lavogi. I came up with the laser bogey, former name of laser optoelectronic oscillators. Then I came up with La Bogey. In fact, it was the world's first optoelectronic generator circuit assembled according to the scheme of the Mach-Zehnder interferometer. Also at the request of the VV. But with Volodya Prokofiev we did it in Fryazino with Babkina Tamara. Layout after reading an American article about a far microwave phasing. Author P.D. Soifer. Using a ladder matrix of microwave phase modulators. Not Mach-Zehnder. It consisted of helium neon gas laser, Bragg to acoustic optical modulator apartment, the two optical beams, optical tables alignment, rotating optical prisms, photodiode. Powerful resonant voltage amplifier, made by Vladimir Prokofiev. Powerful optical base plate. Huge room with lab measurement equipment, oscilloscopes, generators, voltmeters, frequency generation 1 GHz. For the rest, you need to look at the fire report on this research, stability of the generation frequency, spectrum, noise level. The main achievement was, of course, the generation of microwave and acoustic vibrations along with optics. The audio delay time in the Yowie was at the level of fractions of a microsecond to 10 milliseconds or more, instead of optical. Single frequency and multi-frequency modes. At the intersection of the laser of any two of these rays, coming from two acoustic optical modulator apartment and small increment. In the area of photodiode and depolarizing on it. Appeared on the oscilloscope with the output of the microwave as the most diverse sequence patterns, waveforms. Square wave, sawtooth, sine, etc. Well, just since some a variety of shapes as immersion of the razor in a red laser beam. Several articles were published, 1983 to 1992 and 3 patent. After our article and someone from Moscow State University, Department of Physics, released a few of their articles about LOGI. Now laser optoelectronic oscillator. Then all of them ran away perestroika, however. BB said I was preparing dissertations. Finish all the necessary basic pioneering measurements of the spectrum, phase and amplitude noise, describing various new and unexpected effects such as the incident with the razor, making first experiences with S and without S. Comparing noise and frequency stability in a purely acoustical and purely optical delay and with both types of delay. But I had to feed my family and I went to Upton, just like Viktor Konstantinov a year earlier. You also had to leave Moscow Power Energetic Institute. There is no story sadder than the story of GPR and LOGI, these. But, the fates. In 2005, Alexander Bortsov, first in Russia, produced and examined the current layout of low-noise single-frequency GPR in the range of 8 to 10 GHz. And in 2020, he also co-authored with Professor Smolsky S. January 1, 1946 to April 28, 2020, wrote and published by Springer a monograph Laser Optoelectronic Oscillators. The third co-author of this book is Y.B. Ilyin. Alexander, understand, the intrigue is different. When we were writing all these articles for me and I hope all my co-authors, you all know, it was obvious that if any of the long-term oscillator frequency stability is high, in the GPR, for example, due to the known effect of the delay frequency, that is, formally speaking, due to the large time delay in SD to the time constant tau of the resonant RF oscillation circuit F, and phase noise automatically, as a consequence, there will be many times less than would be the case with small tightening, that is, a low ratio of T/tau. Therefore in his articles, we, as M. Nakazava and al., in her, did not say anything about the reduction in the GPR and LOGI phase noise, but, of course, meant, because of this relationship that I mention above, know of any achiever student RTF, Japanese and other universities. But in fact it turns out that it was necessary, though, to mention that oil is oil. And Luter Maliki took, and mentioned. Yes, and the town's formula about the level of phase noise led, which includes this ratio of the time constants of and F, in the form of an equivalent Q factor Q. I believe that Maliki mentioned noise because by 1996 the topic of creating a compact ultra-low noise microwave generator was very relevant, drones and so on you know. And, moreover, only around the years 1994 to 1996 and only in the West were ultra-high frequency phase MZS created. We fought, in fact, for the most important idea of laser optoelectronic oscillator. EOL bogey, ensuring maximum delay of the resonant frequency of the RF filter F. And low phase noise is already an obvious consequence, for specialists in Thomson oscillators. And Malachy played on this in front of his investors from DARPA and NASA. And it was useless for us to play with our respective offices. Therefore, neither V nor I with him, we did not twitch. I've already told you that. Our experience to break through the financing in the 0 years showed that there was no need to twitch. We live on a different planet. Moreover, during that hot period we had pre-perestroika, perestroika and post-perestroika. And only your enthusiasm did not allow to fill up the history of the creation of the laser optoelectronic oscillator forever. But in the ideological and practical experimental plans, we with Vladimir, after all, save our joint team. FireMP has created a microwave oscillator, of course, with a low noise phase. The GPR with an external phase modulator, or rather, even better, with the optical rotator phase. That is, by recirculating the scheme of laser optical interferometer oscillator. The article was published in 1983 and 1992. And we created laser optoelectronic oscillator and proved that based on this new device, it is possible to create new sources of generation of microwave oscillations with a clear spectrum and very low frequency instability. We created the laser optoelectronic oscillator 10 years earlier than the team from the USA.